Welcome to the City of Novi's annual Memorial Day service. My name is Jeff Muck, and it is an honor and privilege to serve as the Director of Parks, Recreation, and Cultural Services. On behalf of the Parks and Recreation staff and all City of Novi staff who help organize the parade and memorial service, we thank you for attending as we remember our veterans and showcase our community pride. We would also like to give special thanks to Mayor Gatt, City Council for their support of these events, also to our police and firemen for their service today and every day, and also to our Department of Public Services who are integral in keeping this parade moving today. Memorial Day has come to represent the kickoff of summer, a season of barbecue, beaches, and vacations. But the original intent behind the holiday, officially proclaimed on May 5th, 1868, was to set aside time to pause and remember the brave men and women who have made the ultimate sacrifice while serving our nation. This is why we gather today, to honor their legacy. Today we recognize over 50 veterans in attendance. Each will be presented with a Memorial Day commemorative pin from the City of Novi. This is the third year we have presented pins to our veterans. Parks and Recreation staff will be distributing these pins at the Veterans Luncheon immediately following the ceremony. So please, all veterans, we want to make sure you have one of those pins today. Ladies and gentlemen, at this time we ask that you all please rise. Welcome Novi High School sophomore Surya Ramapan, who will sing our national anthem.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' red glares, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Thank you, Surya. At this time, I'd like to introduce Mayor of Novi, Bob Gatt.
Thank you, Jeff. Let's give another round of applause for that beautiful rendition of our national anthem. Well, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Bob Gatt, and I have the honor and the privilege of being the mayor of this great city called Novi. Ladies and gentlemen, freedom isn't free. And if you wonder why you've never had to pay for your freedom, remember this: someone else already paid for it. Welcome to today's ceremony, and thank you for attending. I'm honored to be speaking with you today on such an important occasion. We're here today to honor our service members and to remember the sacrifices that they have made in honor of duty and country. Now, the idea of Memorial Day, originally called Decoration Day, arose from the ashes of the Civil War. Following the Civil War, at least 620,000 Americans, both Union and Confederate, had been killed, and hundreds of thousands more were maimed and crippled. Through the course of the war, Americans had blasted each other's lines with cannons and burned cities and towns on our own soil. Americans had locked each other in prisoner of war camps and torn up the railroads connecting the North and the South. Homes, schools, and churches from Antietam to Vicksburg were riddled with bullet holes. The war's unprecedented carnage and destruction was on a scale not even imaginable a few years before, and it changed America's view of war forever. From those dark times, it was the families who were honoring their dead that began to bring the light of reconciliation. And although there are different versions of how Memorial Day began, one story goes that the grieving families, both Northern and Southern, began decorating the graves of their lost soldiers with flowers and wreaths. In one city in Mississippi, people decorated the graves of both Union and Confederate troops out of respect for the families of the Union soldiers, and with the hope that someone would do the same for their loved ones lost in the North. These informal honors led to the first formal Memorial Day observance in Waterloo, New York on May 5, 1866. Congress officially recognized Memorial Day as a federal holiday in 1887, and since then, with each passing year and subsequent conflicts, we've continued to honor our troops. Now, people have been talking about the war dead for centuries. A famous Greek philosopher once said, "The bravest are surely those who have the clearest vision of what is before them, glory and danger alike, and yet, notwithstanding, go out to meet it." During President Ronald Reagan's first inaugural address on January 20th of 1981, the following words were spoken. President Reagan said, and I quote, "Directly in front of me, the monument to a monumental man, George Washington, father of our country, a man of humility who came to greatness reluctantly. He led America out of revolutionary victory into infant nationhood. Off to one side, the stately memorial to Thomas Jefferson. The Declaration of Independence flames with his eloquence. And then beyond the reflecting pool, the dignified columns of the Lincoln Memorial. Whoever would understand in his heart the meaning of America will find it in the life of Abraham Lincoln. Now, beyond those monuments to heroism is the Potomac River, and on the far shore, the sloping hills of Arlington National Cemetery, with its row upon row of simple white markers bearing crosses or stars of David. They add up to only a tiny fraction of the price that has been paid for our freedom. President Reagan went on to say, each one of those markers is a monument to the kind of hero I spoke about earlier. Their lives ended in places called Belleau Wood, the Argonne, Omaha Beach, Salerno, and halfway around the world on Guadalcanal, Tarawa, Pork Chop Hill, the Quezon Reservoir, and in 100 rice paddies and jungles of a place called Vietnam. If President Reagan was given the speech today, he would add places like Baghdad, Fallujah, and Kamdesh. President Reagan went on to say, under one such marker lies a man named Martin Treptow, who left his job in a small town barbershop in 1917 to go to France with the famed Rainbow Division. There on the Western Front, he was killed, trying to carry a message between battalions under heavy artillery fire. We're told that on his body was found a diary. On the flyleaf under the heading, My Pledge, he had written these words, America must win this war. Therefore, I will work, I will save, I will sacrifice, I will endure, I will fight cheerfully and do my utmost, as if the issue of the whole struggle depended on me alone. President Reagan finished his remarks on that cold January day in 1981 by saying, the crisis we are facing today does not require us the kind of sacrifice that Martin Treptow and so many thousands of others were called upon to make. It does require, however, our best effort and our willingness to believe in ourselves and to believe in the capacity to perform great deeds, to believe that together, with God's help, we can and we will resolve the problems which now confront us. And after all, why shouldn't we believe that? We are Americans. President Reagan was an eloquent speaker, and his words that day will never be forgotten. Today, people throughout the country will gather together to remember, to honor, and to pay gratitude to those who have served our country, to those who gave it all. Our gathering in Novi is just one small example of the pride that burns across the nation today and every day. It's not a lot, but it's one small way we can honor those who have made the ultimate sacrifice so that we can live our lives in freedom. Thank you for attending today. May God bless you and your families. May God bless our troops, and may God bless the United States of America. Thank you. Okay, now it's my pleasure to introduce the Novi Choraleers, who will sing the Armed Forces, the Pride of America.
Our
Let's give another round of applause. That was great, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you. All right, it's my honor now to introduce our guest speaker, Colonel Miles Davis. Colonel Davis was commissioned in May of 1988 as the second lieutenant of infantry through the Army ROTC program of Eastern Michigan University. Colonel Davis has a bachelor's and a master's degree in business administration from Eastern Michigan University and a master's degree in strategic studies from the United States Army War College. Colonel Davis is a 3L Joint Qualified Officer and a graduate of the Infantry Officer Basic Course, Infantry Officer Advanced Course, Military Police Captain's Career Course, Master Fitness Course, Basic Airborne Course, Combined Arms and Service Staff School, Command and General Staff College, and the Resident Army War College. Colonel Davis's awards include the Bronze Star Medal, Meritorious Service Medal with 3 oak leaf clusters, Army Commendation Medal with 2 oak leaf clusters, Army Achievement Medal with 2 oak leaf clusters, the Iraq Campaign Medal and 2 campaign stars, the Global War on Terrorism Service Medal, Combat Action Badge, Expert Infantryman Badge, Parachutist Badge, and the German Armed Forces Badge for Military Proficiency Gold. A true honor to introduce Colonel Davis.
Ladies and gentlemen of the Novi City Council, distinguished guests, veterans and citizens, veterans, friends, and citizens of Novi, I would like to thank you for providing me the opportunity today to speak to you on this Memorial Day. Memorial Day can be a difficult time of the year for veterans and families of those who've lost loved ones in defense of this great nation. Many of those veterans and family members feel a growing sense of unease when they see the calendar switching from February to March. By April, some have begun to separate themselves from their loved ones, to find themselves lost in their own thoughts. For some, Memorial Day itself can be a day when they wish they could hide in their homes, alone with their memories, separating themselves from the holiday atmosphere that pervades the first long weekend of summer. But despite that steadfast wish, they routinely get up early on Memorial Day, dress in their finest uniforms or clothes, and move in silence and solitude to cemeteries and other landmarks devoted to those who gave the last full measure in defense of our great nation. Perhaps you have seen them there, an elderly gentleman leaning on a cane and wearing whatever portion of his uniform that still fits, quietly walking among the columns of stone, lost in an intimate conversation with invisible comrades. Or maybe you've seen the young Gold Star wife wearing black to symbolize her grief, standing by a white cross that marks the day her life changed forever. Or the proud parents of a soldier, sailor, Marine, or airman traveling to the cemetery on Memorial Day to visit their cherished son or daughter who remains young and strong and loving in their memories. Veterans and families from every generation make these trips not because they're pleasant, but because they're committed to an ancient idea captured in the Roman phrase, memini mittis nomina. I remember the names of the soldiers. On this day, we vow to our fallen comrades, our loved ones lost in combat, that we will bring back the memory of those who gave their last full measure of devotion to the nation. Even when doing so opens wounds that we hoped would have healed by now. You will not be forgotten. We pledge to those whom we have served with or those who have served in our defense. We will remember you, not with pity, but with pride. Far from a jovial celebration, Memorial Day was intended as a day when all citizens will reflect on the price of freedom paid by every generation of great Americans gone before. A time when we would remember the names of the soldiers etched on the monuments across the nation, engraved on the white stones across the world, and for those whom no monument has ever been built. Memorial Day was to be, should be today, and should always remain a day of remembrance, a memorial. There are three characteristics of a memorial that provide insight, I believe, to why Americans created Memorial Day, and why families of veterans often find the day so difficult. First, an effective memorial must be set aside. That is to say, it must have only one function. It must be devoted solely to the service as a memorial, set aside from all other tasks. Second, a memorial must be special. It must look different than its surroundings. When the next generation see it, they would know immediately that this is a message deliberately placed. Finally, a memorial must be sacred. It must point to something of lasting importance. It must link the past with the future, drawing together those who participated in it with those who would read the stories centuries later. The memorial must cause us to stop thinking of me and instead think of we. It is important that we not pass lightly over the idea of memory of memorials drawing together the past and the present and the future. A wise chaplain once explained that the opposite of remember is not forget, but dismember. When we remember, we reunite, we bring together the past with those of the present. We set aside our identities as me, and we join together as we. When we separate the two, we dismember the past from which we all belong. On Memorial Day, veterans are often sick at heart, not because many Americans have trouble thinking Memorial Day as more than the start of summer, not even because of the deep sense of self-embarrassment we get when a well-intentioned citizen thanks us on Memorial Day for our service when we're actually on our way out to the cemetery to meet old friends who have paid the ultimate sacrifice in the service to this nation. Our deep unease with Memorial Day comes from our annual encounter with the memory of our fallen comrades. It is, in a sense, that may be difficult to understand, a sort of inspection. How have you lived your life this year? They will ask. Were you the loving husband that we can no longer be? Were you the wise father that we never had a chance to become? Did you care for your fellow man? Stand up for those who could not defend themselves? Give your all in every worthy endeavor. Did you live a life that caused others to ask, what does life mean? What was set aside? Was it special? Was it sacred? Were you a memorial to our sacrifice? In the end, a living memorial may be the only kind that really matters. Every year I fall short of my desire to be a living memorial for my fallen comrades. So I face Memorial Day with a sense of regret, but also with a renewed determination. Perhaps some of you here today are familiar with the sensation. As a call to live a life that serves as a memorial to something bigger than ourselves, to set aside me in favor of we. Today is Memorial Day, and I would like to make a special request of everybody here. At 3 p.m., our nation observes a moment of silence. It would mean a great deal to me and thousands of other veterans, as well as the families of those who have lost loved ones in combat, if you would gather your family, even if it's just for one moment, and join in that moment of silence. If you do, it is possible, just possible, that the younger members of your family may question you, may even ask, what does this silence mean? And if they do, I hope you will pause for a moment and tell them, Memini militis nomina. We remember the names of the soldiers May God bless you, and may God continue to bless the United States of America. Thank you.
Yeah, please stand. Colonel Davis, on behalf of the whole city of Novi, thank you for your service. Thank you for all that you've sacrificed on behalf of all of us. Thank you. It's hard to follow that. All right, next we're going to have a wreath-laying ceremony from our American Legion Post 147 and our VFW Post 1519 District 4, followed by a gun salute, followed by taps.
Let us pray. Our Father, today our hearts have been stirred, our memories refreshed concerning the cost of freedom. I pray that you would help us never forget that freedom is hard fought, but so easily lost. Help us not take for granted the rich blood-bought heritage that has been given to us. Help us care well for our veterans and for those who have lost loved ones in service to this country. I pray that today's service will lead us to a greater level of national pride and civic duty. And our Father, we ask that you would help us to live honorably as these brave and men and women lived and died. May we be a living memorial befitting of them. And finally, Father, I pray that you would bless America. And I pray these things in the name of the one who gave his own life, that we might be fully and truly free. In the name of your Son, Jesus. Amen.
Thank you, Pastor. Now I'd like to introduce the Novi Carolers again.
Far across the sea.
We're so lucky to have you guys. To my left, looking straight ahead, or to your right, we see a group of men and women over there. They're not technically United States servicemen or women, but you know what? They wear a uniform, they carry weapons, and they protect us, and they're under attack, and please keep them and all their brothers and sisters in your prayers. Thank you for everything you do. I want to thank everybody for coming. I would like to welcome the veterans and their families to a luncheon courtesy of American Legion Post 147 and VFW Post 1519 District 14, which will be held in the Civic Center. I want to thank Colonel Davis again for those remarks, very touching and so felt from the heart. Thank you all. Thank all the veterans for all of your service, and may God bless the United States of America. Thank you for coming.